Nick Nurse, former head coach of the Toronto Raptors, won the championship in 2019, if I remember correctly, with Kawhi Leonard as a star. He bounced the ball in and off the rim 4 different times before it fell through and sent Joel Embiid home crying into the arms of his girlfriend in the hallway when they beat the Philadelphia 76ers in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference semifinals. He ended up winning the title that year, beating the Golden State Warriors in 6 games when Kevin Durant was hurt, and obviously Klay Thompson went down in that Game 6 after dropping 30 in the first 3 quarters. Nick Nurse departed from the Toronto Raptors, and now he's landed the job as the new head coach for the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers have gone from a doctor to a nurse. Doc Rivers is gone. Nick Nurse is in. Nick Nurse can coach. Nick Nurse knows the game of basketball. Nick Nurse knows how to make adjustments. He's widely respected, if not universally respected, throughout NBA circles. Nobody's disputing that. But to me, the Sixers' fortunes and their future isn't contingent on a coach. It's contingent on James Harden, and which James Harden is going to show up. Can he still do the type of things that he used to do? The brother's still an all-star. He led the league in assists this year, nearly 11 a game, I think 10.7 to be exact. But he didn't show up in the big games, primarily games 6 and 7, which Boston won and ultimately secured a berth to the Eastern Conference Finals because the 76ers could not take them out. What's going to happen with him? Yeah, you got to elevate Tyrese Maxey. Yeah, you got to figure out what you're going to get from Tobias Harris. You got to figure out what other reserves are going to give you to offset the pressure placed on the shoulders of the reigning league MVP and Joel Embiid. But the reality is that comes down to Harden, who essentially you're stuck with. You gave up an abundance of assets to get him. You're still over the cap, with or without him. Chances of you being able to trade for him, he'd have to approve it, and who's to say he's going to do that? You got a lot of question marks involving James Harden. And to me, it comes down to whether or not Nick Nurse is going to be that guy that can do it for you. I think it's a good hire. I'm incredibly happy that Milwaukee hired Adrian Griffin. He's a former NBA player who spent the last several years as an assistant coach, particularly the last 5 years in Toronto. He used to be an assistant coach in Chicago. He helped the development of Jimmy Butler exponentially. He deserves a lot of credit for that. He's considered a player's guy to some degree and somebody that can really nurture and build upon those players. And I do think that Milwaukee needed a personality transplant because Budenholzer did win a title for them as their head coach a couple of years back. He's incredibly accomplished, but at the same time, you do get tired of hearing the same voice, and ultimately it gets old and it's time for something new. They got their man in Adrian Griffin.